What is up, Cal fans? Welcome back to another episode of the California Golden Bearcast, a proud partner of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. We're coming to you after the Louisville game. My name is Andy, alongside me is Rob, and we are going to start off with the Bear Essentials. And we're going to hear from the players with their reaction to last week's pretty thrilling win. All right, so without further ado, here we go. It's a short but sweet one.
Say what you want about the man. The man does not lose a locker room.
He does not. He does not. No. And that was there was four of those videos from coaches that were backing their head coach, and you could tell. I mean, given all that, Rob, maybe we start here. Scale of 1 to 10. How gutsy was the call on fourth down in your eyes?
It's the right call. I think you and I were texting about it after the game, but it was definitely the right call. I think your defense gets the stop, forces them to kick a field goal. You're on the road against a ranked opponent. You're on, what was it, the 2-yard line or the 3-yard line? I could see the game theory argument of you potentially live to play another series, but I think in my mind, with just my gut feeling, it was the right call to go for the touchdown there because, I'm pretty sure the analytics kind of showed that the success rate of that play in particular was probably significantly high enough where they could, be like, even if it fails, analytically it was still the right call too. So
interesting.
I'm all for it. I think, we could talk about the series that led up to it, but, there's some questionable play calls leading up to that fourth down. But ultimately, in the fourth down play, you put the ball in your best player's hand to throw your best skilled position player. So, all in all, you put it in the hands of the most talented, and the talent won out.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the plays that led up to it, because one of my early reactions to that was the only way I could make sense of the play calling once we got inside, I think it was the 8, or to the 8, I got inside the 10.
Yeah.
I felt like it was 4 down play calling. I really did. The second and third down plays, especially the third down one, I was like, okay, I think you really only run that if you're going for it.
I think you're absolutely right. I think you and I also both agree. Running on first down, I don't think anyone has any issues with it. You're not strapped to a game clock, it's only the play clock. So, yeah, you can afford to run it on first down, which I think was the smart move. I would have maybe swapped the gadget play to second down and then third down,
Yeah.
given myself an option to do something else. But, yeah, I'm not a fan of that back-to-back run call on second down as well, especially if it leads to that gadget play.
The gadget play was a wild decision. Wild decision. But the fourth down one was interesting too, because I think while it made the most sense to go for it, I certainly didn't necessarily feel like I felt like Cal was going to win that game after the fourth quarter, where it just kept. The defense kept, stepping up to the assignment, and then we had at the point where we had the botched punt, if you will, or the punt that went to the 50,
the 18-yard punt.
Yeah. That's when I was like, okay, this is going to be tough. And then the defense stood up again. And it was after that, I was like, oh, we're going to win this game. And then on the fourth down, I was like, oh, I think I know how this ends.
Yeah.
These, that's where you have a little bit of self-defense from your body. It's like, we've been here. Yep. The outcome has resulted in hurt. Therefore, don't be too excited.
Yeah.
And instead it wasn't that. And shout out Justin Allegri. The radio call was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then also so cool that I thought Fleming's Fleming's call on TV was phenomenal. So it was really, really great. And Fleming's a Stanford guy. So you hear a little bit of a voice crack with him. Those are usually reserved for Giants home runs in
Yeah.
big moments. He's called a ton of our games this year. And I think you can tell there's a bit where he's a big fan, especially of Jaron's. And I think that was just such a cool moment and knock off that team. And huge credit to the coaching staff for showing up to this game ready to go, making some pretty solid changes, it seems, on the offensive line. I think that there's two ways I kind of look at this. If we're going to move to sort of big picture here. One is Wilcox teams. I will say this always, like, we always play up to our competition. Very rarely, in my opinion, do we get, I shouldn't say always. We most often play up to our competition. Very rarely do we get blown out. Now, there's been some examples of that this year where it hasn't been true. But even in an example of the Duke game, we still played a pretty competitive first half and then just got whooped in the second half. So I don't know if it was necessarily a surprise that it was like a tight game. What was the bigger surprise for me was that it was a very clean game. It was like the false starts, the mistakes that we have made. And I think Jaron's absolved when I'm not talking about like interceptions and stuff like that. I'm talking about the mistakes that you look at that are like a blown assignment on defense or a false start when you're at 3rd and 5 that pushes you to 3rd and 10. The ones that make you say, what the hell, right? Those are the ones where I think I have a really hard time watching those games. This was not that. This was a pretty clean, well-played game. And makes you kind of say, hey, I didn't, I certainly was surprised. We've talking about lack of an identity the entire year, and then we show up and we play that way. And I was like, okay, all right, I know this football. I've seen this football, and this is Cal at its best.
Yeah, I think the thing here is a couple of tweaks here and there actually led to arguably our best performance of the season, both offensively and defensively. Defensively, there weren't many tweaks. I just think the guys were locked in. The game plan was solid. They forced Miller Moss to stay in the pocket and not make throws on the run. They collapsed the pocket actually pretty significantly quickly as well, which I was very, very surprised with. The edges played well. And so, like, from that perspective, I thought, we executed to perfection. I think that's the thing that Wilcox has always harked on, and we've been in those press conferences with him, and what he always says is like, people hate his coach speak, but like when he says like, it's about the execution on the field and we need to tighten up the execution, like he truly believes that to a degree that we can't possibly fathom. So I think that's why you see him as excited as he was as the game was ended. In the locker room, the pictures that Al and Jaden took of his emotions, I think, were stellar. And we just heard the players, chanting his name as well. And even today, or yesterday in his press conference, he looked a little bit more relaxed and wasn't as angry because of the disappointment of how his team had played, but more so because they had executed to probably as close to perfection as you can possibly ask for against a ranked opponent. And they kind of threw the kitchen sink in terms of the play calling, and it worked. And I would assume that we're going to see this against Stanford as well because we only have 2 games left. Like, why? Just it's time to empty the clip and try to wrap up with a string of victories to end the season. I think the biggest thing that talking point wise that I had talked to with some of the other writers on the site and stuff was the offensive line. I think shifting Ruffians to right guard and then putting Swinney back at center and then putting Nick Morrow back at left tackle and then Moko being over at right, I think just those small little tweaks gave us arguably the best offensive line performance of the season. And you know, we could argue though, why didn't we make these changes early on in the season? Why were we so arrogant in, working with the specific line that we had used so much earlier in the season? And maybe we couldn't. Maybe why didn't we make that switch earlier? I don't know. We're not in those discussions once again. But maybe they saw something in practice this week where it looked like they could trust those guys with that particular line against this particular defensive line, and arguably the most talented defense this team will have seen and will see this entire season.
Yeah.
So to step up to that and be given that opportunity and to execute to that level, like, kudos to those guys, kudos to the staff for recognizing it and making the adjustments. And it's clear that line that we started against Louisville will definitely be the line starting against Stanford in 2 weeks.
Some things in life are just made for each other. Peanut butter and jelly, macaroni and cheese, Modelo and college football. College football season is Modelo season, and the season has officially kicked off. The Modelo Recruiter is back in action, looking to reward full-time fans who give their all for their team and their school, week in and week out. If you're listening to this, you've been recruited. So lace them up and get out there. And don't forget to make time for a well-deserved ice-cold reward, because college football wouldn't be the same without you. So grab yourself a Modelo and enjoy the official beer sponsor of the college football playoff, Modelo.
So a lot of the changes I felt, Rob, on the offensive side, a couple of them were what you were asking for.
Yeah.
One, I want to get your thoughts on this. One, I think just the general play calling, opening up the playbook, so to speak. But the other was the rotation of the wide receivers.
Yeah, you saw a lot more guys come in and play, right? You saw Quarren Adams come in early. You saw Cole Bashia play a little bit too, who I thought would actually be a lot more involved after his fall camp last year. I think the recovery from injury definitely took a lot longer than expected. And just seeing all of those guys just be given time to play. I mean, look, we had 3 double passes in the game. Like, also, I don't think this is like I don't know what's the word for it. I mean, it's not scoregami, but more like eventogami. Has there ever been a game where there's been 3 double passes and also 2 self passes by the quarterback in a single game?
Probably not. Probably not.
I don't think so. I think this got to be a first. So all that's why it's great to see. It's great to see that they're opening it up. I don't know why it took so long to open it up this far, but maybe it was a trust thing. Maybe it was they don't want to overload Jaron with too many plays. They want to keep that tight so that he can execute a certain number of plays more effectively, and not really put too much on his plate. Maybe they did put a lot on his plate earlier on the season, then realized they had to dial it back because he's still a true freshman. And then now they're realizing they can give it back to him because he has the experience. Like there's a lot of factors that go into this that's beyond just the like it's a Madden playbook where I can just add plays in, and the players in the game will execute them to perfection. It's not like that. You're dealing with actual people, players, reps, experience. Where they are with their body in terms of fatigue or injuries and all of that stuff. So it's cool to see. It's cool to finally see it all come together, and it come together like this. And the one shout out that not enough people are giving is Kendrick. I think Kendrick's had to shoulder the load for like the last 3 weeks because our other running backs have not been available. I think LJ Johnson was available this week, but didn't play that many snaps. I think Anthony Lee spelled Kendrick for a little bit. But some of his runs, man, like, I said that at the beginning of the year, like we don't have a lot of guys that can maybe make that 25 to 30 yard burst run, but we have a lot of guys that are going to make a 2-yard run into like a 5 or 6 yard run. And that's exactly what Kendrick did for us. And that's exactly what we needed, honestly, with a lot of the runs on first down, him getting hit either at the line of scrimmage or like 1 yard in. And then he would, burst through and shed a couple tackles. And instead of 2nd and 11 or 2nd and 9, it's now 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5. And that definitely helped us for the rest of the game, because he did that not early on just to set the tempo and just the I don't know what word am I searching for here, set the example for the running game, but he did that consistently throughout the entire game. And also, like, even, I mean, you could even argue like that in overtime, if it's not for his first 2 runs that gains those positive yards that get us to 4th and 3 or 4th and goal on the 3, like we probably just take the field goal if it's probably outside 5 yards. Yeah. That gadget play probably hurts us more if he didn't had gained those yards on 1st and 2nd down. So it's very cool to see, like, the run game play off the pass game, play off the run game, play off the pass game, like that, that circle of life on offense finally coming together, against arguably our best opponent of the year.
I think it's the difference of like the 4 to 5 yard run versus the 2 to 3, or even like the 1 to 2. And that was really noticeable in this game. And I think, to your point, you nailed it. It's really setting up the pass, and in a way that is allowing the offense to not be so one-dimensional and have the defense just sit back and be like, cool, we know this is going to be another throw, and that they have a quarterback that can fit into tight windows. But, even the best quarterbacks need a running game to be able to spell in, so that DBs can't just sit down on the routes and wait for a ball to jump a route or something like that. So yeah, I think that's an amazing point. I think Kendrick's gotten a little bit of flowers this week, which is good, but I think your greater point is probably that, like, he's progressively gotten better.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked enough about that progression. And you're right. It's almost like at the time we needed it most, not so much from a production standpoint, but from a health perspective.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good call out. I want to get your take here on the defense. So I know this is kind of a dramatic fan take, but I'm just gonna go for it. Where, like, what do you make of the defense being somehow better since Cade's gone down with his injury?
Oh, see, that's the toughest thing to grade. It's just, I think it could be twofold. I think one is Cade was being asked to do a lot, and now you're divvying up those roles amongst 3 inside linebackers that you're kind of rotating with Taggart, Farrelly, and Aaron Hampton. And in doing so, you're keeping guys fresh, because one guy will always be constantly be rotated out and, getting less snaps. And I think, just asking them to do a couple of things instead of asking them to be an all-arounder has actually made the interior of the linebacking core a lot more simpler in what they're being asked to do. And particularly in a game like this, where I think they expected more run than they actually got. If you're self-scouting, you're like, well, the opposing team is just going to run on us, because that's what Virginia Tech did. That's what Virginia realized at the end of the game. Or I guess Virginia kind of forgot at the end of the game, because they decided to pass and we got the ball back on 4th down. So, and then even in this Louisville game, like they didn't have their number 1 running back, but they definitely had a running back that was very good. I mean, Kewan Brown had 136 yards on 14 attempts. He had a 9.7 yard per carry average, and they decided to throw, which it made no sense in my mind. I think much like the Virginia Tech game, like their thing should have been like what the Virginia Tech guy said. It's like they didn't stop us, running the ball, so we were just going to hammer it until they stopped us. But then they went away from it and they started to throw the ball, and then that's where it degraded quickly for them, and being unable to gain a lead. We baited him into throwing that interception as well. That was a great interception by Hezekiah. I don't think he saw him sitting in a zone up top, or it wasn't a zone. He was a man, but Hezekiah broke off his man because he realized he was going to throw to the flat, and he just came down with the ball. And so I think a lot of that is what you're seeing is guys are starting to. I think it just happened. It's more coincidental than it is like a causation. I think guys are starting to understand their role a bit better. I think the defense is gelling a lot more as the season's progressed, and some of the losses that have mounted, particularly Virginia Tech and Virginia, I think have lit a fire under some of these guys on the defensive side, and that's kind of what you're seeing, is that you're seeing a defense that was put together through the transfer portal, not fully, but a lot of the key positions that our defense, Wilcox defense traditionally relies on. And those guys are now finding their stride within that defense, and particularly a lot of the younger guys that are now stepping up.
I think Massis also had what looked like maybe even a pick six, but it was blocked at the line.
Yeah.
And you never know, but it certainly looked like if that Bass had made it through the line, that he was in front of the route and there was nothing but green grass in front of him. I think this is a really good transition, Rob, because I have to call out and have a little bit of fun here. So regarding the Louisville play calling, I'm going to read you a news article from CBS Sports, but everywhere. I think I originally saw it on Yahoo Sports. A Texas man has been indicted in Kentucky for allegedly threatening Louisville football coach Jeff Brom and his family and several Cardinals in the program. According to Jefferson County, Brian Mandel faces 6 counts of a second-degree terroristic threat and 1 count of extortion. A warrant was issued for his arrest and bond set at a measly $100K. Mandel made threats between November 8th and 9th following Louisville's 29-26 overtime loss at home to California. The alleged targets included Brom, his wife, family members, offensive coordinator Brian Brom, and quarterback Miller Moss. Wow. First of all, the world we live in is absolutely bananas. But yeah, so I have many reactions to this. One, okay, lose the Cal and your fan base loses their shit. But let me take you back. I have a friend of mine. His name is Bob. Bob, like legitimately his name is Bob. Bob and I knew each other since I moved to Chicago all the way back in like 2012. And when Cal joined the ACC at a time where I felt like I was feeling very vulnerable because it almost felt like we got left out of this new era of college football.
Sure.
He texted me what I can only assume was an alcohol-fueled rant about how the only reason Cal was in the ACC was because of academics and that we were a worthless football program. Bob went to Louisville. So I just want to say, I had a little bit of fun with this win and sending over quite a few different remarks Bob's way. And when I saw that article came out and I didn't know who it was, I was like, that might have been Bob.
Non-zero chance.
There was a non-zero chance.
Non-zero chance
that it was Bob. But no, he handled it better. He said it was basketball season, and I called him a fair weather fan. But this win felt good. I really didn't expect it. And anytime you can win against the infamous Bob Parks, I think ultimately everybody besides Bob wins, and that's a good thing.
So funny part about this is that yesterday when this news came about, it was in the writers our like Discord channel. Peter puts it in there and he comments like what losing to Cal does to a man. And then Avi goes, wonder how much he bet. Peter goes, we likely broke his parlay. And Christopher H., the living legend, with the comment of the day, betting Louisville by 18.5 means he didn't know ball.
I love that. I love that. Especially from Christopher H.
So, you really haven't been following college football enough if you're looking at a double digit, win loss or a double digit line like that and going, you know what, that's a guaranteed win. I'm gonna hammer it.
Yeah, I would never. I mean, I feel like we're so close to it. We know that in general. I mean, Wilcox has been exceptionally bad for Vegas this year, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
really
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
They haven't been able to figure it out, but yeah, I think we know that. Other fans do not. And it goes back to your point that you made in earlier podcast that like perception is reality. And this win over Louisville, there's probably a bunch of people in Louisville that are not dissimilar from the views that Bob shared, right? That these programs in Stanford and Cal they're only there for academics. They're not there for anything athletic. So they're expecting like a walkover win. And Cal shows up with a competent program and plays super competitive football. And they're like, the only answer could possibly be to look at ourselves. And it's like, it was the same thing with Ohio State in some ways when we showed up there. And I know I've mentioned this now a few times, but like everyone being so friendly before the game. Hope you're having a great time, blah, blah, blah. Like huge favorites to win. There's no concern there. And like, who the hell is this school with these crazy people that are coming out here to Columbus? And then the game's really close. Cal almost wins. And then now the niceties are gone and people are trying to fight you for no reason, even though the game is already over, right? It's like, it's just one of those things where I think where you don't expect it, maybe it's a tougher pill to swallow. And so now I think there's a bunch of people in Louisville and clearly beyond in Texas that understand that, hey, that this is we're a football school too. And I think that's what you said, Rob, was like, that's the goal.
Yeah, the funniest part with this story and all of that is like we put out our weekly writer predictions of the game like every Friday, and Rex Volcano wrote his, and I'm gonna show it to you if you haven't seen any of these. Just take a look at the screen for me.
I only saw someone reference it. I actually haven't seen it itself.
So Rex Volcano's his prediction for the scoreline was Cal wins 28-26. What was the final score of this game?
Was it 29-26?
It was 29-26.
Damn.
And his little thing is a little blurb on it is the air feels a little colder around you all of a sudden and the lights in the room are dimmer. You hear a faint whisper that's almost like it's coming from the vents, the cracks in the wall in the attic. You stop what you're doing and strain to listen. This can't be right. You haven't heard that voice in years, but it keeps repeating itself over and over. This is a trap game for Louisville. Iconic, and it's exactly what it was.
Truly a season changer for them.
Yeah.
Right. From being like literally having CFP like being in the mix for the college football playoff to now out.
Yeah, you're on the cusp of potentially being in the ACC championship game, and now you're not out of it, but now you have to play a numbers game.
Yeah,
and you have to hope that certain players and certain teams falter, and other teams and players win. So never a spot you want to be in, but that's kind of where we are right now.
I love that we were able to play spoiler. Something we haven't talked about, like bowl eligible, 6 wins. All right, we're at my 6th win prediction point.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2 games left. We have a bye week, then we have Stanford, then we have SMU.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of coaching scenarios that play out that we're not going to talk about today, but just a whole boatload of implications that came from this win. But there's one thing that I want to get your thoughts on. And I texted this to you and Nam and Abby, which is Jaron. I don't know if, like, the thing is, when you're listening on the radio, you can't totally understand the difficulty or like what type of throws. So imagine my experience on the radio for most of the game, where I'm just hearing Jaron's passing to DeJesus. I'm assuming it's more in line with the passes. Like, Pulowski's losing his mind every pass. Like, and, at first you're like, okay, that must have been an insane pass. But then he does it like 5 or 6 times and you're like, okay, this dude, it's like everyone else. Everyone else just sees Jaron play and they're like, oh my God, this guy is incredible. But they kind of like fawn over the talent, right? Yeah. So it's hard to distinguish just how good. I didn't realize, in going back and watching this game twice, seeing the throws, I was having the Pulowski reaction. I was like, all of these throws you're making, I thought, we would be playing a ton of throws like underneath, maybe screens, stuff like that. The way that we've used Jacob DeJesus for a lot of the year, especially given that he's undersized. But it wasn't that at all. Like, Jaron's throwing like 15, 20 yards downfield, putting the ball perfectly on the back shoulder, outside, to the only place that literally the offensive player can get it. I think I heard someone in the NFL, when I was watching the game the following day, remark on a similar throw. It's the hardest throw you could possibly make as a quarterback. And he's doing it over and over and over again with ease. It was unbelievable. I think that, and my big ask to you, Rob, is I threw out a comparison, which you immediately threw cold water on, which is fine because Sam Darnold wasn't a true freshman when he was playing. But I can't think of, like, Andrew Luck, I also think redshirted, so he's not a good example unless I got that wrong. But I think he had a 1 redshirt year. And I don't know. I just can't think of any freshman quarterback from a pure passing standpoint, in my eyes, that are biased. I know I have biased eyes towards this. That is better than the performance that we saw on Saturday.
It's tough. I mean, it's like you really. I mean, there's not once like the first thing is there's not a lot of true freshman quarterbacks that get this type of opportunity at the Power 4 level. Like, yep. They're just not. So that's like the hardest thing to even find enough comps for what he's doing and how he's doing it. Like, it's not just, he was our only option and we kind of threw him out there a la what, Stanford is doing, right? But like, that's kind of the thing is just there's no real good comparison to put against what Jaron is currently doing. And that's like we're in uncharted waters, like particularly for us. I'm sure there's some true freshman ones out there. But like for us, it's unprecedented. And that's the hardest thing. Like, yeah, I'm gonna share with you a little screenshot here. Like, this is Peter doing his play-by-play stuff in our Discord. But he's throwing this. He shows this play from Jaron to DeJesus, right? That gets I think DeJesus goes for like another 4 or 5 yards here after this catch. But like this is the throw to Jacob DeJesus on 3rd and 8 from the Louisville 44 with 3 minutes and 32 seconds left in quarter 3. If anyone wants to go back and watch this, but Peter puts that screenshot out and he goes, the sheer arrogance of this throw. Yeah. Like, and you and I are looking at the screenshot. If you're looking at that, Andy, there's only one place you can throw that ball. There's literally only one place, which is if you're looking at the wide receiver as like a strike zone or a box. Upper left is the only place you can throw it. And that's like from a 2D standpoint, right? Not even a 3D standpoint, which he needs to arc the ball to go over the defender right in the JDJ's hands, because it's not like a straight line throw. You
also have a route underneath, which means there's another defender like DB that if you put that ball too short, that's an interception. If you put it too long, it's an interception. If you put it too far to the inside instead of putting it over, it's an interception.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's incredible. And like, so it's tough. I always want to toe that line a little bit of like being overhyped and just being like rational. And it's like, it's because of these types of throws and these types of moments where Pulowski is probably like, oh my God, that's the greatest throw I've ever seen. But like Jaron does this on the daily.
It's ridiculous. No, I mean, I don't know. I think it's the time. I think it's definitely time to, it's also good to do that. You just got to appreciate it for what it is. And like watching this and saying, this is truly out of this world. I mean, like, Trevor Lawrence, maybe, right? Because he like came in and won the national title. But we're talking about, like, think of these names. Sam Darnold, who right now might even be the best quarterback in the NFL. Like, would have been a really hot take before this season, but I don't know. Find me somebody better than Darnold right now. And then maybe Stafford. But like, you're talking about like NFL legends. Like Trevor Lawrence was a legend at Clemson.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck was brought in an era of Stanford that we really, I mean, I certainly didn't see coming, and it took us a decade to recover from it. So this is the type of talent that we have right now, and I know there's a bunch of people saying, well, can we retain that talent? How do we retain that talent? But I think I'd rather be Pulowski in this situation. I'd rather just marvel at the talent, marvel at the fact that we have this guy. And also, like, how I also had this thought, Rob. How good would have Oregon been with Jaron as quarterback this year? I think he's better than Dante Moore. And yeah, I mean, that's a thank goodness that timeline didn't work out, right? Like, holy goodness.
Yeah, I mean, he was named the Davey O'Brien National Quarterback of the Week. He I believe is leading by like 1% or 2% on the Manning Award for the Quarterback of the Week as well. So it's just he's getting the accolades again after getting a lot of accolades earlier in the year. I believe he threw. I mean, it's a very short college career so far, but he had career highs in completions, career high in attempts, and career high in yards. So, according to the game notes, Sangapol Tele has begun his college career with 10 consecutive games of 200 yards or more of passing, and is the only Power 4 and second FBS player to ever record at least 10 straight games of 200 yards or more passing to begin a collegiate career. Houston's David Polans began his career with 14 straight games of 200 or more yards spanning from 2010 to 2012. Did not play in 2011. So Jaron has the opportunity here to set some records both at Cal and nationally. So, and Andy, while you were talking about like the comps and stuff, weirdly, the only real comp, and it's funny how it kind of aligns like this, to comp to Jaron is actually Tua. Because although Tua didn't play the whole year, his freshman year, but remember Hurts goes down.
Yeah.
And then in the national championship game, and then Tua comes in and he plays. And remember how electric he was throwing the ball?
Yeah.
Like in the second half, he finished the game with 14 to 24 for 166 yards, 3 passing touchdowns and 1 interception, along with the game-winning 41-yard touchdown in overtime. So, as a true freshman, and that's probably the last time I like marveled at a true freshman quarterback throwing the ball.
Yeah, agree.
And, you know, the Hawaii connection also, and also he's a lefty as well. So, weird how it aligns. But, yeah, that's the last time I remember a true freshman really stepping onto the field, and I'm going, holy crap, he's going to dominate college football for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably the only comp. But holy crap, like, yeah, I totally understand it if you're listening to the radio broadcast and you're hearing Pulowski and you're like, he couldn't have thrown another like crazy ball. Like there has to be some hyperbole to it. Of like,
right. No, you have to.
Yeah.
It's like when you hear someone say something 10 times. Well, it's like, you know, if I tell you that I had the best burger in the world, but I tell you 10 straight times, you're gonna be like, okay, like, yeah, right. Like, how
well, to be fair, you have told me that. You tell me that whenever you talk about Smith Smash. So like, you know,
it's true. It's true. It is true. But I think it has diminishing returns over time, but like I kind of loved it because for me as a listener, I mean, it should be called out, and it's just one of those funny things because it's like Allegri makes a call, and then Pulaski's like, he's like, I know we should be talking about what that play was, but can we just go back and talk about how ridiculous that throw was? Like it was like that over and over again, and so you're like trying to make sense of it as you're listening to it. It's like, okay, could it possibly have been that good? And then you go back and watch it, and you're like, yeah, it was actually better than it was even described.
Yep.
It was, yeah. It was.
The hype for the big game is now very, very palpable. Because if the defense plays as well as it did here, and Jaron is slinging the ball as he did, like there's potential for that game to get out of hand real quickly and with a lot of fun for Cal fans.
Oh boy, Rob, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't
do
it.
I mean, come on. Do you, if this offense plays like it did this week, do you think this offense has a better chance, and like production wise, than that 2021 drubbing?
I'm gonna break your soul here, but I think I'm doing you a service. I think it's gonna be a close game, dude. Stanford played UNC tight,
but they still lost.
Yeah,
they still lost.
We should have lost our game. Like, dude, the thing is, it's the big game. So they won't.
Yeah, it's a rivalry game. So like everything's thrown out the window.
Yeah, it's not a trap game. They're not going to overlook it. It matters. So that team is going to be fired up. We're coming off a bye, which we know historically we suck coming off of a bye. Yeah, I would guess that if, let me put on my own Rex Volcano, but I'd say probably 3/4 of torture would be my guess, and then maybe a breakthrough in the fourth. I don't expect it to be one of those where we blow the lid off early.
God,
Stanford's
that's like the 2022 big game.
Yeah, and Stanford's played or even last year's, right? Like, wasn't last year the 90 yards?
Yeah, last year was 98 yards. Yeah.
Yeah. So last year we thought we were gonna blow them off the field, and didn't happen. Stanford plays tight in the first half, and I think if they get enough belief, which we've had a habit of doing, look, sad reality is I just think we have the ability to play up, and then we have the ability to play down. What you're saying is 1,000% true. If we play the same football game that we played against Louisville on the farm, the odds of that being a 15-20 plus win are really high. But I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm believing the forces in the universe enough to go with that quite yet.
Yeah, we're going to find out. We'll find out in 2 weeks if this was a blip or if this team had turned a corner after last week.
Yes, we will.
So
that's foreshadowing. Good foreshadowing.
I mean, we still got. We're recording this on Tuesday afternoon. We have a weekend of no Cal football, and then we got the big game. I don't know about you, but I've looked at big game, or I've been getting texts about big game tickets, and I looked at SeatGeek, and it's close to $200 to sit in the upper bowl.
What?
I think, yeah. It's
don't tell me that. They haven't even released the ones that Cal fans did, have they?
I think they have for season ticket holders. If they haven't, that'd be very weird.
I have 0 emails, but
you should probably go check with your ticket rep.
I can't. She moved to the Milwaukee Bucks.
Well, you should have found another ticket rep. There's plenty of ticket reps. You could have.
No one reached us out. I just it was my really good ticket rep was I'm going to the Milwaukee Bucks. I said, okay, good luck, and then that was it.
and then they just charge your credit card.
Hey, well worth it.
Yeah.
Yes, I legitimately do not think I've gotten a single email about Cal versus Stanford tickets. I assumed that it was, I got nothing.
Well, the thing was, the tickets were fairly cheap before the Louisville game. And that's the thing is after the Louisville game, it started to explode. I'll show you the SeatGeek map right now because I have it pulled up.
No, don't give me that anxiety.
Yeah.
I have to buy 4 of these things, dude.
But look at this.
$140.
Look at this. Yeah. To sit downstairs, it's like 180 to like just to be on the goal lines or the corners.
Unbelievable.
And this is after all these tickets rose, and like it's, I think on the site too, it says like high demand. So like people got excited. I think majority Cal fans got very excited for this after that Louisville win. And that's what started to go. Like, dude, paying $150 to be upstairs in the corner makes no sense. $350 to sit in the upper deck at the 50-yard line. This is not the Niners.
Yeah, this is wild. According to AI, that Cal Athletics released big game tickets July 9th. So I got zero notice. And that is interesting.
Because look, like usually the Cal section's right here, right? 128.
We're going to have to get the press pass, Rob. We're going to have to get the press pass.
I mean, I got the press credential email today, but I mean, that's because I'm going to be on the field.
We got to get, can I get Bearcast +2? We'll have a toddler in the press box. What could go wrong?
Take your kid to work day.
Yeah, take your kid to work day. Everyone would love having a screaming toddler right next to them as they're trying to watch a football game, right? Perfect
experience.
Just ask Avi and Trace how the basketball game was last night.
Or my mom as well.
Hey, once your mom was there, my daughter turned into a sweet baby angel. That was so cool. Oh my gosh. Section 133, $571. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
not
dude.
gonna happen.
Right there. Yeah. I mean, you are close, but it's like $500 for that?
What is happening? This is blowing my mind.
This makes no sense.
My mind.
This makes no sense. This absolutely makes no sense. But yeah, Andy, I'd say check with Avi.
Yeah, we're gonna be pulling some favors.
Yeah. Check with Avi. I think he might have some extra tickets, but yeah, because he bought them early last week. So
wow,
I'd say make some checks, make some calls.
Making some calls. All right.
But yeah, that's our talk. That's our spiel on the Louisville game. And well, also a side note on the Louisville game, Thomas is back in the Bay Area.
Oh, that's good.
After his flight got canceled in Louisville. He somehow made it back. We got a text message from him later in the night. He's like, I am back and laying on my couch. So he has survived.
Good for him. I'm glad he's back.
Yeah. For the people that don't know, Thomas, one of the writers, the beat writer for Cal Football at Write for Cal, went to Louisville, got to the Louisville airport to leave Louisville at 7:30 on Monday for a 10:30 flight, and the 10:30 flight was canceled. I have yet to know the details of how he made it back, but he is back. So it's good to know.
No, that sounds zero fun.
Yeah.
Zero fun.
Yeah. Well, that wraps it up for us here on the Golden Bear Cast. If you are listening to us, you know where to find us, so I don't need to tell you that, but you can get our written stuff at writeforcalifornia.com. You can email us goldenbearcast@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at goldenbearcast. In the meantime, with another week of a bye week, there is Cal football on display, or Cal basketball on display. The men's are at Kansas on Thursday, but they'll be back next Tuesday against Presbyterian, and then next Friday, big game eve against Sacramento State. That one's going to be a fun one because that's their head coach is Mike Bibby. They have highly touted recruit Mikey Williams on that team, and also one of Shaq's kids. And Shaq is also the GM of Sacramento State. So who knows? Maybe we see Shaq at Hospavilion on Friday.
Damn.
With Scottie Pippen. That would be crazy.
Dude,
that would be wild.
Cal basketball's, take it from me, firsthand experience last night. It was a great time. And after I left, we dominated.
Yeah. Andy had a great time. Daughter might have had even more of a fun time.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
She's been rocking those Cal sunglasses. Shout out to Owen. That was super nice. She had the best time at her first Cal basketball game sat next to Trace and Avi, got the full experience, and right behind the bench, and was very, very intimidated by how loud the Cal bench is. I got to see Madsen call a timeout. He called a timeout. Told his players, he's like, come over here. You sit here. He like basically did assigned seating. It's like, okay, you're here. You're A1. You're A3. Sit over there. A5 right here. And then he sits everybody down and just yells at them at the top of his lungs. He's like, wake up. Wake up. And then leaves and goes and surrounds himself with his assistant coaches and just lets the players talk amongst themselves. And then comes back after that break and then is like, all right, let's get back to business. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. It really did remind me of like, I was always so scared of my JV basketball coach. And, Madsen can be a little bit intimidating, but honestly, it was great. Like, I had so much fun. And I think this team is, I don't know anything about, we're in the ACC. We're in a really tough conference. It's not going to be easy, but there is something to be said for having a team that has like a bunch of players that gel really well. And it like does, the early returns look good. So I'm excited to, attend another basketball game here and be way more locked into Cal basketball this year than I have in the past.
Purity first. Also, on the other side, for the women's, they host Charlotte in the Raising the Bar Invitational that Cal hosts every year. They host Charlotte on November 15th, this Saturday at 3 p.m. at Haas. And then on Sunday, depending on how the tourney racks up, the championship game will be around at 7, and then the consolation game, of course, earlier in the day at around 5 p.m. And then also the women's play next Thursday, 2 days before the big game against St. Mary's at Haas Pavilion. So lots and lots of games to be attended. That's not even talking about the men's team that has that game at Chase against UCLA on November 25th. So after the big game, that's another one. So if you want to watch Cal play at the Warriors home stadium Thanksgiving week, that's the one to be at. But basketball is here, folks. We're in full swing. This is the weird 2-3 week span where it's like uber busy for some of us because it's basketball and football all happening at the same time. But we're having fun regardless.
Fun is being had.
Yeah, that's it for us. We're gonna close out because I have to head to a women's basketball game. And so yeah, Andy, as always, go Bears.
Go Bears.